The Nintendo Switch has been going strong since 2017, and it's still the reigning champ when it comes to couch co-op gaming. Well, now the time has come. They said it couldn't be done, but here we are. Top 50 couch co-op Nintendo Switch games. And like last time, I'm going to be mostly talking about Nintendo Switch exclusives. Some of these will be only on the Nintendo Switch, some of them will be Nintendo exclusives that are ports from the Wii U, and some of them are games that are on other consoles but have exclusive co-op features that are only on the Nintendo Switch. So let's get started. Burger Time Party takes the classic arcade game Burger Time and puts a fresh coat of paint on it and makes it 4-player co-op. Yes, this definitely looks like a budget title, but it can be really fun when you get a good team together. Then we have Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu, which are basically remakes of Pokemon Red and Blue and Yellow. The second player, outside of battles, doesn't really do a whole lot but run around. But I really found it to be enjoyable to team up and fight against other trainers and catching Pokemon. Not everyone's going to love this game as a co-op experience, but I do. So Pikmin 4 does have a co-op mode, but it is very disappointing, especially if you played Pikmin 3 Deluxe. You can no longer play through the game in split-screen co-op. Now you have to play it with an assist player. And basically that player can just throw rocks and stuff like that. It's not equal. I'm glad that it exists, I guess. Devil May Cry 3. So this originally came out on the PS2, and it had a secret co-op mode there. But now it's been re-released on modern platforms, and the Nintendo Switch version, it's called Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition. It has a local co-op mode called Bloody Palace, where one player controls Dante and the other controls Virgil. You work together to fight on 9,999 floors of a demon-filled tower. There are teleporters, so you can skip a lot of those floors. You don't have to play all of them. Anyways, I would love to see co-op in the story mode, but you know what? This is good too. The original Hyrule Warriors took the Dynasty Warriors formula and threw Zelda in it. The Wii U version allowed 2-player co-op, where one player played on the gamepad and the other played on the TV. And this was a pretty cool concept. Of course, you can't translate that over to the Switch. You had to settle with split-screen co-op. I'm not going to complain. I'm a big fan of the Dynasty Warriors games, and I have a lot of nostalgia associated with them. So being able to play Zelda in this format is really fun. Snow Bros Special is a game that came out, I think, in 2022. Snow Bros plays a lot like Bobble, but instead of bubbles, you're throwing snowballs. This one takes a lot of inspiration from the arcade game as opposed to the NES game. There are 100 levels. Every 10 levels, you fight a boss. This is another one that looks like it could be somewhat of a budget title, and it's not the deepest co-op experience, but there still can be a lot of fun if you want to have it just a quick pick up and play. Ultra Street Fighter 2 is another great version of Street Fighter 2, and the Switch version allows for a co-op mode where you can team up with a friend and do 2-on-1 fights. Not a lot of fighting games offer this, and I really enjoyed it. There's a lot of great co-op indie games on the Nintendo Switch, and there's an exclusive that I just found out about called Quad Fighter K, and this is a multiplayer shoot-'em-up. It's highly inspired by NES games, which you can see through the visuals and the sound effects and the gameplay. But I think they did a great job. There's not a ton of 4-player shoot-'em-ups, and this one's really solid. And even if you don't have 3 other friends to play with, the other ships will always be controlled by the AI. But one of the coolest things is that you can join forces into a more powerful, bigger ship. Or if one of your teammates isn't necessarily as skilled, they can dock onto the side of another player. So you can kind of assist each other in that way. If you haven't played Quad Fighter K, give it a shot. I think this is a total hidden gem on the Switch. No Straight Roads is a story-based co-op game where you play as 2 characters in a rock band, and you have to take down some corporate bad guys that, I don't know. The story, it doesn't matter, but there's a lot of music and rhythm-based sections. It's actually really fun to play in co-op. Every version has co-op, but it's the Switch version that has an exclusive 3-player co-op mode where a 3rd player can jump in and be an assist player. So I wanted to mention that one. Puzzle Bobble Every Bubble. So this is basically Bust a Move. You can play it in 4-player co-op. If you haven't played Puzzle Bobble, basically you just shoot little balls and you match the colors and then they disappear. And think of that and then add 3 more players because that's all it is. But this is done really well and Again, I'm just glad to see old franchises continuing to grow and evolve and add co-op features, so this one's great. Astral Chain is an action game that was made by Platinum Games. This game has all sorts of crazy anime bullshit story. So if you're into that sort of thing, you'll probably like it. The co-op mode is kind of an assist mode where the second player controls the Legion, and they are attached with this chain to the first player. The controls take some getting used to, but once you figure that out, this is actually pretty fun. And it's just great to see a story-based game with some co-op. ARMS is one of the early Nintendo Switch releases. You can't play through the story mode in co-op, but there are a number of team-based challenges that you can play with a friend in split screen. ARMS is a really unique fighting game. You can play with Joy-Cons using motion controls or with the traditional controller. Now that I'm making this, I should probably go back and play this some more. Okay, Bayonetta Origins is not an official co-op game. I just wanted to mention it because if you didn't know, you can play it with 2 Joy-Cons, as each character is assigned to half of a controller. But if you split up the 2 Joy-Cons, you can play it similar to Brothers, where one player will be controlling a character and the other controls another one with their Joy-Con. And it actually works very seamless. So maybe you want to try that. I know it's not a real co-op game, but I've had a lot of fun playing it this way with my daughter. Mario Party Superstars is more Mario Party. It has this really great co-op mode called River Survival Mode. You all get into a raft and you use your Joy-Cons to physically row the boat. Yeah, it's gimmicky, but I actually had a lot of fun doing this with my kid. And as you go down the river, you choose different paths, and on your way you play mini games. This works incredibly well as a co-op experience. Fire Emblem Warriors is another game that takes the Dynasty Warriors format and throws Fire Emblem characters in it, and you can play it in split screen co-op. Basically, if you like Dynasty Warriors, you're gonna like this one. And then there's the follow-up, Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes, which is just more of the same. And then we have Super Kirby Clash. This is a free game that was only released on the eShop, and you can play with up to 4 players. Basically, you just fight bosses, and they throw in some RPG elements. Of course, there's some pay-to-win opportunities as well if you want to level up faster, but it's not necessary. Just take your time, fight the bosses, level up, get points, buy stuff. That's all you need to do. If you enjoy Kirby gameplay, this is more of that. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. You remember the X-Men Legends games? Well, then there was the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games, which took the same dungeon crawling gameplay and threw basically every Marvel character known to man in it. And yeah, this is just more of that. So if you like dungeon crawler games or Marvel characters, this might just be the game for you to play. New Super Mario Bros. U is another New Super Mario Bros. Game. Obviously, it originally came out on the Wii U, and that version had 5-player co-op where one player can use the gamepad to create blocks and stuff. So that is not included in the Switch version. You're limited to the 4 players, but it does add the ability to play as Toadette, who then powers up and turns into Peach, which is a nice addition. WarioWare Move It is another WarioWare game with lots of minigames, and this one you can play in co-op. This one adds a lot of motion controls and Joy-Con compatibility, which is a plus, but I just don't think it's as good as WarioWare Get It Together. God of Protectors is a game that I just found out about while making this video. It has a really great pixel art style. It's almost like a dungeon crawler. It gets really chaotic with tons of enemies on the screen at once. You could play it with up to 4 players co-op. This is definitely a Nintendo Switch hidden gem, and it can only be found on the eShop. Super Mario Odyssey. To me, this is the best 3D Mario game ever, and the addition of the co-op mode where player 2 can play as Cappy is implemented really well. I know most people aren't really fans of assist modes in co-op games, but to me, I think this is the best example of that working really well. Seeing as Cappy is somewhat attached to Mario, you don't have the problem where Mario just runs off and the assist character is kind of just left in the dust, similar to Bowser's Fury. And Cappy can be really helpful, whether it's attacking enemies or helping Mario jump to a higher platform, or just attacking the bosses while Mario focuses on dodging. I think if you have a good second player, this can be an excellent co-op experience. But it's also a great co-op game to play with your kids, as Cappy can't really screw things up too bad. Time UFO originally came out on iOS and then was ported to the Nintendo Switch. and it includes a co-op mode. This plays kind of like one of those claw grabbing arcade games where you reach down and you grab a toy and bring it back. But in this version, you each control different parts and you have to sometimes stack cheerleaders. There's various different puzzles you need to solve, and you work together and navigate through the puzzles. This one's definitely a hidden gem. Cadence of Hyrule takes the gameplay of Crypt of the Necrodancer and throws Zelda characters into it. This has an incredible soundtrack. This one can be difficult to get the hang of, as you have to be moving on the beat at all times, otherwise you're not going to really get anywhere. I had a hard time with it, but I do enjoy it. And then Mario Tennis Aces. You can play doubles where you just team up against the computer, but then there's also this really fun boss mode where you team up with a friend and you use tennis balls to actually fight bosses. I think that one was a pretty cool new addition to the Mario Tennis franchise. Cave Story. This is one of the most popular indie titles in modern gaming. It's a 2D platformer with some Metroidvania elements, but it's the Switch version that has exclusive co-op features. I want to see more Metroidvanias with co-op. Having these big worlds that you have to explore can be kind of lonely, so having a partner to run around with makes it a lot more enjoyable. Box Boy and Box Girl. This is the first game in the series to feature co-op, and it works really well. It's a 2D co-op puzzle platformer where you use boxes, basically build steps and ladders to navigate through the various obstacles. You have a limited amount of blocks between both characters, so communicating and figuring out who needs to put what where in order to get past an obstacle is what makes this a really great experience. Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle has a co-op mode where you can play through various maps with a friend. And when you think of turn-based RPG type games or strategy games, you don't necessarily think of co-op. But this one was implemented really well. I just wish that you could play through the whole game co-op. Vvvvvv is another classic indie game. It's a precision platformer where you use gravity to jump between the ceiling and the ground over and over to get through the environment. This one's incredibly difficult, and playing it in co-op, you better have a good partner. Otherwise, it might not work out for you. Vitamin Connection is a really great indie game that was created by WayForward. This has to be the best utilization of the Joy-Cons. You really have to work together. You'll rotate the Joy-Cons to control the ship and play various mini-games using it to rotate or move up and down. Basically, this is the best way I've seen motion controls or just the Joy-Con functionality used in any game. I love this game, and the soundtrack is pretty fun and upbeat as well. Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons. So this game is basically on every modern platform around, and it was known as a single-player game where you control two characters at once. Well, in the Switch version, they actually let you split up the controls between two players, and it feels right at home. I love this game, and this ends up being another one of my all-time favorite co-op experiences. WarioWare Get It Together. This is a game that I played when it first came out, and I always liked it. In recent years, it's kind of grown on me even more. You just play a bunch of micro games, and you can play it with a friend. This is incredibly fast-paced, and that's what makes it fun. Before you even figure out what the rules are for the mini game, you're already on to the next one. So it's just this chaotic, sometimes stressful experience that really makes this game interesting. And of course, playing it with a friend definitely adds to the humor and excitement. You're gonna probably get worked up and yell at each other quite a bit here. The Stretchers is another Nintendo Switch exclusive that only came out on the eShop. This one's just silly, but it's really fun. You and a friend are these two medics, and you drive around and pick up different characters, and you throw them onto the ambulance. Of course, you gotta avoid obstacles, kind of go through some mazes, and figure out the best way to figure out how to carry these civilians back to the ambulance. And a lot of times you gotta work together. You can move characters one by one, but it's going to be slower. Or you could work together with each of you grabbing one side of the stretcher and pick up some of these characters and move a lot faster. This game's just very lighthearted and fun, and you can clap and sing for some reason. Luigi's Mansion 3 is always a solid experience for co-op gameplay. Second player plays as Luigi, and you work together to bust the ghosts, solve puzzles, and do kid-friendly horror-themed things. As much as I appreciate the co-op gameplay here though, the thing that I do not like about this game is that there's a lot of fake outs where you think you're progressing into the story and moving up in the elevator, and then the button gets snatched away and then you gotta redo a whole floor. That was just annoying, and it just felt like they were artificially making the game longer. That being said, it's still a really great co-op experience. Demon Throttle is another co-op hidden gem, and this is a game that only had a physical release, so there's no digital way of playing this game, which is kind of an interesting way of releasing this. This is another one that is heavily inspired by NES games. This one's a top-down run-and-gun shooter, with some light RPG elements as well, but it's incredibly difficult. You're gonna really need to work hard to memorize some of these patterns from the bosses, so make sure you have a skilled second player here. I also love these cutscenes, and the music is excellent. If you haven't played Demon Throttle and you can find the physical version somewhere, definitely give it a shot. Disney Illusion Island is a new game that I'm adding to the list this time. It's a 4-player Metroidvania, but the catch is, this one, there's no combat. You're just avoiding the enemies. Growing up with some of the Mickey Mouse games that came out on Sega Genesis, specifically World of Illusion, which had great co-op gameplay, I was really excited for this game as well. And I think that this one carries on that great classic co-op gameplay. But now it's 4 players, which I'm not going to complain about. This one's definitely a great one to play with your kids. If you haven't played it yet, give it a try. Yoshi Crafted World is another great Yoshi game. The thing is about Yoshi games is they might not really be changing things up too much, but they're always just solid games. There's always really good platforming, really great visuals, and some nice, peaceful, upbeat music. I know a lot of these games are probably more aimed towards children, but I'll just never get sick of a Yoshi game. Maybe that's just my nostalgia talking, but I love Yoshi games. Crafted World and Woolly World are both really great games. I'm surprised that they haven't ported Woolly World yet to Nintendo Switch, so maybe we'll see that soon. Another new addition to my list is Ink. This is not a Nintendo Switch exclusive, but the Nintendo Switch version is the only version that has co-op. And this is a precision platformer. Basically, you need to create the platforms by running and jumping, and the ink will spread out and will then provide you with the visuals of where to jump. This game is incredibly difficult, and precision platformers don't always work with 2-player, as you gotta have a lot of precision. And if you're not perfectly in sync, a lot of times these games just don't work, but they managed to make it work here. I think that Ink is definitely a hidden gem that's worth trying out. Much like the Yoshi games, I feel like the Kirby games can just never do anything wrong. I love every Kirby game, and they've always been a reliable source for couch co-op gameplay, going all the way back to Kirby Superstar on the Super Nintendo, one of my all-time favorites. And Kirby Star Allies is no exception. It definitely continues the theme of co-op gameplay. I know a lot of people complain about this game being way too easy and for babies, and maybe that's true, but I also kind of suck at video games, and I'm often playing with my 6-year-old daughter, so I love easy games. I'm not going to complain about that. But the bottom line is, if you haven't played this game all the way to the end, you're doing yourself a disservice, because the ending of this game, the massive boss fight, it's one of the coolest sequences I've seen in any Nintendo game. So give it a try, especially if you can play it 4 players. The newest game on this list is Mario vs. Donkey Kong. This is a remake of a Game Boy Advance game with updated visuals, and they added co-op gameplay, so the second player can control Toad. It's basically a single screen puzzle platformer. You gotta jump around and figure out how to navigate through the levels, often platforming, avoiding enemies, and then you gotta grab the keys to unlock the doors, and then ultimately get to the exit. I wasn't sure how they were gonna make this work as a co-op game, but it works surprisingly well. They made it so you both always have something to do. So far, this is one of my favorite co-op games of 2024. One of the games on this list that probably will surprise nobody is Snipperclips, one of the early Nintendo Switch games. It's just a really great puzzle game. I'm sure you all know this one. You work together, cutting yourselves into various shapes to solve the puzzles, and you gotta work together. There's even a 4-player mode where 4 of you all work together. Sometimes you gotta fit into shapes, sometimes you're playing a sport. The gameplay is always changing. And no matter how many players you're playing it with, and no matter what level you're playing on, it's always a fun, lighthearted experience. Okay, so I mentioned that I like Kirby. This is the second appearance of a Kirby game on this list, and that is Kirby's Forgotten Land. The first Kirby game to be a fully 3D experience. And I love this game. This is one of the best co-op 3D platformers ever. The only downside is the second player is stuck playing as Waddle Dee, so he doesn't get to have all the same power-ups as Kirby, and the camera always follows Kirby. But that being said, if you have a good second player, Waddle Dee can be incredibly helpful, especially during boss fights. So don't just dismiss this as a co-op experience, it's still really solid. Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze originally came out on the Wii U, but since no one played that console, I'm going to talk about it on the Nintendo Switch. Just like all the other Donkey Kong games, this is an incredibly good, yet difficult 2D platformer. It has all the same mechanics that you would expect, but the Nintendo Switch added the ability to play as Funky Kong, which is kind of like an easy mode. You can also play as Diddy Kong, Dixie Kong, Cranky Kong, and of course Donkey Kong. Dixie Kong has always been my favorite, as Donkey Kong Country 2 is my favorite Donkey Kong game. Just the ability to glide with her hair makes things a lot more fun, I think. Another game that only came out on the Nintendo Switch eShop is called Good Job. This is like a job simulator game where you have various tasks like plugging in a printer, gathering the employees into the meeting room, setting up a projector, etc. But there's no one way of doing this. You can try to be careful and have some precise movements and just get it in there just right, or you could just have fun and destroy everything and jam that printer into its socket. Being able to just destroy everything in sight is what makes this game fun. It also has a really great dynamic split screen mode. So when you're together, you're on one screen, and then when you separate, it goes into split screen. It's completely seamless. I don't hear enough people talk about this game. So if you haven't played Good Job, try it out. Well, I hope you like Kirby, because this is the third Kirby game I'm talking about. I just can't resist, alright? This is my list. This is Kirby's Return to Dreamland, and I think this is one of the best co-op Kirby games ever. This originally came out on the Wii, and has now been ported to the Nintendo Switch as Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe. They also included a bonus game called Megalore Epilogue, which is a totally new game. Definitely try that one out too. But basically, it has all the same Kirby gameplay. You can play it in 4-player co-op, it's a 2D platformer, and it's just really solid. Great platforming, great visuals, great music, great gameplay. Nothing negative to say about this. It's one of my favorite Kirby games ever. I don't want to hear anybody complain about all the Kirby in this list, alright? Another Wii U port is Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, and this is one of the best co-op games on the Nintendo Switch for sure. Originally, it started out with just an assist mode. Now it's a full-blown, equally co-op experience, where you each control your own Toad, and you work together gathering the stars. This is just a really unique experience, and there's not a lot of games like this. It's not a platformer, not an action game, it's like a co-op puzzle game, I guess. You work a lot with changing the viewing angle, because sometimes you're going to be in a section and you're not going to see what you need to see, so then you flip things around and you get a new perspective. And that's really what makes this gameplay unique. You get the control of the camera, seeing this whole environment in a fully 3D space. I can't say enough about this game, it's just one of my favorites. If you're like me, maybe you slept on Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. I didn't even know that this was a sequel to Hyrule Warriors. And it's also a prequel to Breath of the Wild, at least when it comes to the story. It has the same visuals of Breath of the Wild. It definitely dives deep into the lore of that whole world. The gameplay is the same. It's like a Dynasty Warriors game where you play in split screen and you go fighting numerous enemies, but it's with Zelda characters. To me though, the standout feature is just being able to experience this story. And there's a lot of it here. So if you like Zelda and you like all the Zelda lore, definitely check this one out if you haven't. I think it's one of the best co-op Zelda games. And of course, Mario 3D World. This is a port of the Wii U game. This is an incredibly good co-op 3D platformer. One of the best of all time. Again, everybody knows this game. I don't need to tell you what it is. I'm just going to tell you that I love it, and it's one of the games that really got my young daughter into video games. So we bonded over this game a lot, and we still play it off and on. But we spent numerous hours playing this game and collecting all the stars. She's always playing as Princess Peach, and I'm always Luigi. And that just makes for just a fun bonding experience with my daughter. So this game will always have a very special place in my heart. Pikmin 3 is another Wii U port coming on to the Nintendo Switch, but this version added co-op, and it works really well. I'm sure you're familiar with Pikmin gameplay. It's the same here. It's kind of like a strategy game. You go around and you collect all the different Pikmin of various colors, and they all have various abilities. And you use your Pikmin to fight enemies, pick up items, yada yada yada. I think you know what Pikmin is. But the gameplay here is really great, especially for a co-op experience. It is truly one of the best co-op games I've played in years. I love Pikmin 3. I really think it's one of the best Nintendo Switch games. I can't say enough about it. But now, let's get to number 1. You might not be surprised, but I think the best co-op game on Nintendo Switch is Mario Wonder. This took the classic 2D Mario gameplay and it really perfected it in every way possible. I was a big fan of the new Super Mario Bros. Games when they first came out, but they eventually became pretty stale. They didn't really innovate. Playing it in multiplayer, I just think was never a very fun experience. You're just always knocking each other off, and you end up just competing. If you don't have perfectly balanced players, you're gonna just not have a good time. But Mario Wonder eliminates this problem. You no longer have the collision, so it's truly just a co-op game. You run side by side, you never get into each other's ways. This game has incredible level design, the music's solid, the visuals are definitely a highlight as well. Like I said, New Super Mario Bros. Kind of was just getting boring, and the visuals were never really too inspired. But here, the characters all have new designs, and they just look fresh and modern. Not only do I think this is the best co-op game on Nintendo Switch, I think it's just the best co-op Mario game of all time. And it's just truly probably my favorite Nintendo Switch game of all time. I don't think I need to sell you on Mario Wonder, everybody knows it's great. But it's definitely my number 1 favorite co-op Nintendo Switch game. So there you have it, top 50 couch co-op Nintendo Switch games. I know there's still plenty that I didn't include, but these ones I think are the best. So if you enjoyed this video, check out some of our other Nintendo Switch videos. And thank you for watching.